Hi students, we are going to the next chapter of the history, that is chapter 8, the coming of the Mughals. We know that by the early 16th century, the power and prestige of the Delhi Sultanate had declined considerably. This had given rise to numerous regional kingdoms. Thus, politically, India was in a state of disarray and disunity. It was at such a time that the Mughals conquered India and established a strong empire. In our previous chapter, we had seen that India was disintegrated and many new regional kingdoms came up. At this time, Babur invaded India and established the Mughal Empire. Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur was the founder of the Mughal Empire in India. He was a descendant of Timur and Genghis Khan. He belonged to a small kingdom called Fargana in Central Asia. So, who is the founder of Mughal Empire? That is Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur. When he was 11 years old, his father Umar Sheikh Mirza passed away. He ascended the throne and tried to conquer Samarkand. He failed, and in that process he lost his own kingdom, Fargana. So he became a kingdomless king. After being driven out of Fargana by the Uzbeks means a Mongol dynasty that ruled Central Asia, Babur conquered Kabul in 1504. At this time, Ibrahim Lodi ruled over Delhi Sultanate. And Daulat Khan Lodi, the governor of Punjab, and Rana Sanga, the ruler of Mewa, wanted to dispose Ibrahim Lodi. They invited Babur to invade India, thinking that after defeating Ibrahim Lodi, he would return to Kabul. But Babur, who had heard about the fabled wealth of India, such a rich wealth of India, thought that it was a good opportunity to expand his kingdom. There are a few battles that made Babur the most powerful ruler of India. The first one was the first battle of Panipat in 1526, then battle of Kanua in the year 1527, and in the year 1529, the battle of Gakhara. These made Babur's position a secure one in northern India. The first battle of Panipat in 1526, Babur met Ibrahim Lodi in Panipat. It is a very important battle. Babur came and defeated Ibrahim Lodi in the battle of Panipat. The Lodi army was many times bigger than that of Babur's, but Babur had a better cavalry and efficient artillery. He defeated Ibrahim Lodi and conquered Delhi and Agra. And in the year 1527, in the battle of Kanua, Babur defeated Rana Sanga. Rana Sanga was very angry at the decision of Babur to stay back in India. So he went against Babur with a large army, but he was defeated. Then the battle of Gakhara in the year 1529, Babur defeated the Afghan chiefs in the battle of Gakhara. And these three battles that made Babur's position in northern India very powerful, and he became a unconquered ruler. Babur was not only a brilliant general, he was a poet and a writer. His autobiography, you have to note down that the name of the autobiography is Tuzuki Baburi or Babur Nama. In this, he has described the physical features, climate, animals, birds, flowers, fruits, other details of the places that he had visited. He has described the life of the people and also even written about himself. When we talk about Babur's achievements, it is not only his successful military expeditions, there are many other achievements to his credit. One of them is he introduced the concept of garden palaces in India. He laid out gardens in Agra, Sikri, and Dholpur. He introduced a new mode of warfare in India. He showed how the combined use of artillery and cavalry could turn the fate of battles. He re-established the prestige of the king. None of his nobles could aspire to be his equal. These are some of his achievements. And he died in the year 1530. Since he ruled for a very short period, he could not consolidate the empire that he had established. The task of consolidation fell on his son Humayun. Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur was followed by his son Nasruddin Muhammad Humayun. He succeeded Babur in 1530 and he ruled from 1530 to 1540, and then he was thrown out of his power, and then he returned to power in 1555, and it lasted only for 1 year, and in 1556 he was died in an accident. So the name Humayun means fortunate. So children, note down the meaning of the word Humayun is fortunate, and he was the second Mughal ruler, but he had to face a lot of problems. The empire was still without a proper system of administration. Humayun's brothers Kamran and Hindal and Aksari were dissatisfied with the territories that they had got. They wanted the throne of Delhi for themselves. The empire was under threat from all sides. The Rajputs, Bahadur Shah, the ruler of Gujarat, and the Afghans were preparing to fight Humayun. Sher Khan, the Afghan king, had established a powerful kingdom in eastern India and wanted to expand it towards northern India. So from all corners, Humayun was being attacked. Humayun considered the Afghan threat as the gravest. Under the leadership of Sher Khan, the Afghan king, he had already established a powerful kingdom in the eastern India and he wanted to expand his territories in northern India. So Humayun considered he is the greatest threat to his kingdom. So he decided to deal with it first. In 1532, he defeated the Afghan forces at Dadra. He then laid siege to the fort of Chunar, which was under the Afghans. Sher Khan was allowed to keep the fort on condition that he would remain loyal to Humayun. Humayun then marched against Bahadur Shah, who fled without fighting Humayun. Gujarat and Malwa became part of the Mughal Empire. Meanwhile, Sher Khan, the Afghan ruler who was defeated by Humayun, strengthened his positions in eastern India. Humayun decided to crush him once and for all. The Mughal and the Afghan forces met at Chausa in 1539. The Mughal army was defeated. Humayun barely managed to escape from the battlefield. After the defeat at Chausa in the year 1539, Humayun returned to Agra and raised an army. In 1540, he met Sher Khan at Kanuj. He chased Humayun out of his own kingdom. Sher Khan captured Delhi and Agra. He assumed the title of Sher Shah and established the Sur dynasty. So you have to remember, Afghan ruler who was defeated by Humayun once, that is Sher Khan, he was allowed to remain in the kingdom and he established a powerful army and he defeated Humayun once at Chausa in 1539, and in the very next year at Kanuj he was completely defeated and Humayun had to run away from there. Humayun escaped to Persia and spent the next 15 years in exile. And then Sher Shah died in 1545 and was succeeded by a series of weak rulers. Taking advantage of this, Humayun returned to India with the help of the ruler of Persia, he defeated the Afghan forces and regained the lost territories. In 1555, he re-established Mughal rule. Shortly afterwards, Humayun died in an accident. Next, we talk about Sher Shah Suri, another important ruler. He ruled from 1540 to 1545, a short period. Sher Shah was the son of an Afghan Jagirdar in Sasaram, Bihar. His real name was Farid Khan. He was given the title of Sher after he killed a tiger. Sher Shah was a very ambitious man. Within a few years, he raised a large army and became a powerful in the region covered by the present-day states of Bihar, Jharkhand, and West Bengal. He defeated Humayun twice and occupied Delhi. He went on to annex territories in the north and organized the administration of his empire. Unfortunately, Sher Shah ruled for a very brief period. He died in 1545 and was buried at Sasaram. Sher Shah was a good general and an even better administrator. He reformed the civil, military, and land revenue administration. He is often regarded as the forerunner of Akbar. So, who is regarded as the forerunner of Akbar? Sher Shah Suri. Many of the reforms introduced by Sher Shah were continued by Akbar. It is good to note down the famous civil administration of Sher Shah Suri. In this, the king was the most powerful person in the empire. He was assisted by a council of ministers. The empire was divided into provinces, that is sarkars, and districts, parganas. The lowest administrative unit was the village. Sher Shah toured the empire to inspect and ensure administrative efficiency. To prevent officials from becoming powerful in a particular region, Sher Shah transferred them every 2 to 3 years. He also had an efficient espionage system. What is espionage? Espionage means the activity of finding out the political, military, or industrial secrets of one's enemies or rivals by using spies. So, using of spies is called espionage. So, he had even that system during that time. So, the spies kept him informed of all that happened in his empire. When we talk about Sher Shah Suri's military administration, Sher Shah paid regular salaries in cash to his soldiers and officers. He branded all horses to prevent inferior quality horses from being included in the cavalry. He branded all horses. Okay, so that to avoid inferior quality horses from being included in the cavalry. He maintained an accurate descriptive roll of each soldier. He personally supervised all army recruitments and enforced strict discipline among his soldiers. When we come to his land revenue administration, all cultivable land was measured and classified into good, average, and bad according to its fertility. The king's share was fixed at 1/3 of the total produce. It would be paid in cash or kind. So you have to remember, it is one of the important administrative reform that he has made. The king's share was fixed at 1/3 of the total produce. The administrative officials were lenient at the time of the revenue assessment but strict at the time of tax collection. In times of natural disasters such as floods or famines, the peasants did not have to pay any taxes. It is another important thing. So Sher Shah was very considerate towards his farmers. Rather, Sher Shah gave the loans on easy terms in times of emergency. And when we come to the trade, to make traveling easier and to promote trade and commerce, Sher Shah built an excellent network of roads. The most famous of these is the Grand Trunk Road. So we have GT Road. Okay, so the Grand Trunk Road was established by Sher Shah Suri. The roads were provided with the sarais or rest houses. The rest houses became centers of trade. In course of time, towns and cities developed around these sarais. That is also very important. Okay, it became the centers of trade. And to encourage foreign trade, Sher Shah reduced custom duties. He also introduced a silver coin called the rupiah. Remember the rupees that we are using. Okay, so it came from that. It continued to be used for many centuries after his death. Sher Shah followed a policy of religious tolerance. He respected all religions and looked after the welfare of his subjects. He constructed the Purana Qila in Delhi. Sher Shah was succeeded by Islam Shah. He could not build upon the work of his predecessor, Humayun defeated Islam Shah in 1555 and ended the Sur Empire.